Hey everyone, Diavolo here, and welcome back to my review for chapter 224 of Tokyo Revengers. If you guys are new around here and want to keep up to date with the latest Tokyo Revengers reviews, spoilers, and more, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and also be sure to leave a like on the video, as it really helps out with the algorithm and pushes my stuff to a bunch of new amazing people. But anyway, enough of that, let's get into this chapter. So chapter 224 starts off and we actually move away from Takamichi and where we were at the amusement park, and we go over to the Rokuhara Tandai's hideout, where the guy who actually shot Draken along with his three dudes are sprawled out along the floor and have been beaten up by Tarano. And he's saying, "What do you mean you've shot Draken? You did well." So I just think this is insane. Like, I'm wondering if there's been a setup here, and I'll get to that in a second, but I think there has been a huge setup throughout this chapter that hasn't gone exactly as they wanted it to go, but it has gone pretty well for Tarano, I could imagine, though, at the exact same time. And from Tarano, we go over to the amusement park, and Takamichi is kind of going through all, I guess you could say, stages of grief throughout a few different panels here. We see him kind of standing open in the rain, just looking out to nothing, I guess you could say, with Senju standing behind him. Then we see him run up behind the paramedics, asking how he is, and we finally get the information that it has been confirmed that they could no longer save Draken. So as I've been saying over the last 5 chapters now with Drakens Death here, this is absolutely insane, and I think we are in some way going to get Mikey's reaction to his death, or I think we're going to get a confirmation that he knows at least. But the idea that Draken hasn't been saved, so we got no refusal from Emma not letting him to, go up to heaven with him, and it kind of has been confirmed that Draken has passed on. And we get this look from Takamichi afterwards, there's just utter despair in his eyes that he knows that this is not what he wanted to happen at all. And Senju even asks him, what do we do now? And Takamichi just stands there kind of staring at the ground, not really knowing what to say or do, because this was something that he never foresaw, he thought he was fixing everything when he jumped in the way of Senju to stop her being shot, just to find out that Draken has actually jumped in his way to save him, and this is probably erupting into the biggest death that there has been in the entire series so far. I think this actually goes over Emma's death, just because of the fact that Draken here, we always thought that he would survive, as he was someone that Takamichi saved at the beginning of the series. But as I was saying previously, the man who I believe to be this traitor who is inside Brahmin shows up, and obviously that is Takomi. After Senju and Takamichi kind of finally finish spacing out, and they turn around to see that Takomi is walking up behind them, asking if it's true that they got Draken, wondering, how did it get to this, saying that they have to repay the Rokuhara Tandai. And then all of a sudden, everyone from Brahmin obviously shows up behind Takomi. So my thoughts here, obviously, as I've said just the other day in my spoiler video for this chapter, is that I think Takomi is the one who set this all up. He obviously thought that they were going to shoot Takamichi, and the fact that they've shot Draken here is probably utter surprise in his part, but this, in all honesty, I think was set up by Takomi. As we know, he's the Rainbringer, and ever since it started raining at the amusement park, everything has kind of just gone wrong for Takamichi and Senju here. So I'm really expecting that Takomi has kind of set something out with Tarano possibly, or even Mikey perhaps. I doubt it was Mikey, but I think it was Tarano, as I wouldn't see that Mikey would kind of team up with Takomi to take out one of his best friends, and being Takamichi. But Senju, obviously reacts to Takomi's, statement on that they're going to fight now, saying that they can't do it today, as that's crazy. And he replies, when are we going to act then? It's not just about being number one from now, okay? It's a bloodbath out there. So he's obviously referring to how people are dying now, and I think he's trying to more or less push her out of the way and kind of take control of the gang. He's kind of showing her that maybe he's a bit more domineering than she is to the gang members, as he's brought them there. He's brought everyone to the amusement park all of a sudden, and they've all shown up to pretty much fight the Rokuhara Tandai. And throughout this mess, you kind of just get Takamichi standing there, thinking that this isn't how he wanted it to be. Obviously, going back to, is Takamichi going to leave this timeline and try and fix everything from the beginning, as that's still a huge possibility that could happen here, especially with what happens towards the end of the chapter. But then all of a sudden, footsteps approach from behind, and we hear Tarano scream out that they've arrived just in time to Draken's Requiem, which is kind of fitting for, me being Diavolo and hearing the name of Requiem pop up again. It kind of given me PTSD flashbacks right now. But he's just arrived to obviously Draken's Death. And as Takomi and Tarano kind of scream at each other, saying that they're about to, like settle this here and begin the fight, Takomi snaps his head, recognizing the sound of Shinichiro's motorbike, which is now obviously Mikey's motorbike approaching from the distance. And as it arrives, obviously Senju is like, what is it now? And then all of a sudden, we see Mikey pull up on the back of his CBT 250T alone, and we get this sick panel of his back wearing his uniform, sitting on his bike, just confronting everyone. And then we get the opposite side of, how Mikey is obviously sitting on his bike, and we see his face, and you can just see that like all of the light has kind of sapped away from his eyes, or like the darkness that was already there, and that cool mystique aura that he had about his eyes, where it kind of felt like he was carefree, has all but gone, and now he looks angry and more depressed than he's kind of ever looked at this age throughout the series. Obviously he looked like this in the future, but he never looked this depressed this early on, I don't think, in the series, so it's quite sad to see him at this point. But turning his head in the last panel of the entire chapter, we get Takamichi realizing that Mikey has shown up, and it looks like the battle between obviously all three gangs is probably going to break out here. I would assume that Mikey has gone ahead of his entire group and probably shown up first, like I was saying in the spoiler video, but it could be possible that he has actually just shown up all by himself. Because as we know, during the Tenjiku arc, Mikey did say that he thinks he is strong enough to take down 20,000 men by himself. So showing up here, like I've said in the past, wouldn't be out of the blue for him to try and do this. And especially, in the state that he's in, he's probably lost everything, and he's at that point like he was during the Valhalla arc, where he'd lost Baji, and he kind of needed the guiding force to bring him back on track, which was Takamichi at the time. But now I really don't know what he's going to do. As I've said in the past, I believe Takamichi is going to travel back to, his previous life. Now that the future would have changed, I believe that he might be alive, and it'll probably be the worst future that we've seen for Takamichi so far, as he'll be returning to a future in which he knows he's the cause of that entire outcome because he couldn't save Draken. And he knows because of that, Mikey would have gone to complete and utter evil and would have been swallowed up by his dark impulses. So I'm wondering, what is he going to do here? Is he going to teleport back? How is he going to confront Mikey? I'd love to know what you guys obviously all think down in the comment section below, so make sure you do chuck a comment down there and let me know, as honestly this chapter was amazing. I really didn't expect Takomi to actually be at the amusement park. The whole idea of him being the Rainbringer and there possibly being something that happened between Shinichiro and him could be extremely interesting. So I'm really wondering if he is the traitor here, and if he's even possibly set this up between him and Tarano himself to try and actually take down Takamichi. But that didn't end up happening, obviously, and Drakens end up passing away here. So yeah, it is extremely sad that Draken has actually passed away, and I'm not really sure how everyone is going to take this, because obviously we have to kind of take into part all of the other Toman members as well, not just Mikey here. We have, the rest of them that all love Draken just as much, so they're going to be devastated to see or hear about this. And I wonder if they'll go back into this kind of scene that they were in before, or move away from it completely now that Draken is gone. But yeah, anyway, as I just said, I'd love to know what you guys all think down in the comment section below. And if you guys are new around here and want to keep up to date with the latest reviews for not only Tokyo Revengers, but also Jujutsu Kaisen and One Piece, then make sure you hit that subscribe button, and also be sure to leave a like on the video, as it really helps out with the algorithm and pushes my stuff to a bunch of new amazing people. But anyway, enough of that. For now, it's been your professional degenerate, Diavolo, and I'll see you all in a bit. Bye.